Hi everyone, my name is Stu, and in this video we will build a simple app that will display the close prices of stocks in Dash. So to start this application, let's open our Python IDE, and what we have here already prepared is stock data on Apple, Google and Tesla, and you can see that we have the date, open, high, low, close, adjusted close, and volume. So to create a new app, let's open a new Python file, and I will call this Python file app. And now we will import the libraries that we will need for this project. So first I will import Dash, and then from Dash I will need HTML components, and I will name this HTML. Next I will import Dash core components, and I will call this dcc. Then we will need the Dash dependencies to create callbacks in Dash. So from dash dot dependencies import input output and state. And lastly we will need pandas, and we will need plotly dot express to visualize our data. So I have an error here, an error here. So now this is all that we will need, and I will call plotly.express as px. So now let's create an instance of our app. And we'll do that by app is equal to dash dot dash name. Now we have to create the layout for our app. So let's create layout of app. And to do that, we simply write app.layout is equal to, and I will add this. I will add all the components inside an HTML div component. And let's, for example, begin with the title, or title of the page. So I will say html.h1 is dash app stock historical stock data. Okay, so let's see if this works. So now let's run this app. If name is equal to main app run server. So this starts the server, and let's see if that works. So everything's okay, it's running a localhost, and let's click on this. Now we see that the HTML h1 component is working. So next thing we do is we want to read historical data based on some input. So let's say we want to know the historical close price of Apple. So if the input is Apple, we will then see Apple's close prices on a line chart, right? If it's Google, we want to see Google, and if it's Tesla, we want to see Tesla. And for this purpose, I think the dropdown component from Dash is very convenient. So let's use the dropdown component, which is dcc.Dropdown, and this to find the exact the specific inputs of the dropdown component. Let's just go to Dash documentation. So let's see if I'll find something. it is dash core components drop down, and this is what it looks like. So based on dash documentation, all you have to specify is the ID, the options, and then some value. So let me copy that and add this to my code. Okay. So let me rename the ID to let's say stock dropdown, and for the labels and values, so I don't need the cities, but we can replace them with Apple, Google, and Tesla. So let's do that. Apple, Google, Tesla, and for the values I will use the same, right? Then you can also specify default values. So let's take the first one, for example, and add Apple here. Let's restart the app and see if this drop down is working. Okay, so now the drop down is working. So we have Apple, we have Google, we have Tesla. And let's now try to add a callback. Okay. So a callback basically is nothing more than the DICE server reacting to certain inputs and then outputting or updating certain components. For example, let's create a callback every time we have an input from the dcc.Dropdown. So to do that, we use app.callback. And so we want to output something to a certain component, and we will output some component data inside this div, and let's call this div let's say page content. Okay, so I'm outputting to page content. So here we add the component ID, which is this one, and we are updating the property of this div. So the component property is children. So it is the children of this div. And the trigger of this output is this drop down here. So the component ID is equal to stock drop down, and the component property is equal to the value of this drop down. So we wanted to know the value. So now we will define a function for this callback, and I see that I have a typo here. So define return page content, and the input here is the drop down value. To check if this callback works, we can try to print the drop down value, and for the time being let's just return an empty list, and let's restart. Okay, so now let's refresh this. So let's try to play with the inputs, and if we open our terminal, we see that now this callback is working because we're printing the values of the dropdown. So this is great. So now we can try to return something, right? And what I want to return first, for example, is the name of the drop-down input. So let's say html.h2, and let's return this drop-down value in this callback. Okay, so let's restart one more time, and now refresh, and we see now that this drop-down value here is the same as here. So this is the input, and it's updating the children of this div component. If I click on Google, now we have Google. If I click on Tesla, we have Tesla here. How about we now return a chart of close prices? And to do that, we have to somehow access the CSV files and convert them into figure object using Plotly Express. So to read the file, I will store in data frame, and so what we do is I first create a symbol dictionary, so I know the exact path to the CSV file. So a symbol dictionary is, and let's say if the drop-down value is Apple, I the corresponding name of the CSV file is apple.csv, and I will do the same for all possible inputs. So the second input is Google, and the name of the CSV file is goog.csv. And the last value we have here is Tesla, and the name of the CSV file is tsla.csv. Great. To now convert the CSV file into a data frame, we can use pandas.read CSV, and what we have to do is we have to specify the path to the CSV file. I see that pandas here is not defined because I forgot to import panda as PD. So now the path to this CSV file is stock prices slash, and now you only have to add the name of the CSV file, so it's output of this dictionary with a drop-down value as the input. Let's test this by trying to print df. So let's restart again, and let's refresh. Okay, so now let's play around with the inputs again, and here we see that we have some error, and we see that we have no such file or directory, stock prices slash apple.csv, and the mistake is because the name of the folder is stock underscore data, not prices, so this is a mistake on my part. So let's update the path, stock data, refresh, and now let's refresh tab here. Okay, and now let's check terminal. Okay, so now see that it works. We have Apple and then the data frame. Last thing to do is we have to create a figure with Plotly Express, so px.line, and we want to create a line chart based on the close prices of the stock. So x is equal to df taking the close column, and y is equal to df, this is the date column. The date is on the x-axis and the close column is on the y-axis. Now to display the figure in Dash, we will use a Dash core component called dcc.Graph, and inside that graph we only have to add this figure object here, like figure is equal to fig. Now let's restart the app. Let's refresh. Now we see that every time I add input in a drop down, the H2 is updating, and we also see a line chart of historical prices of that symbol. So this is it for this video. So thank you very much for watching, and if any questions, please ask in the comments below, and I'll be happy to come again with another video. Bye.